Welcome to Changelog, where we explore the latest updates, enhancements, and changes to New Relic itself. In each episode, we dig into the new features and functionalities as told by the people who envisioned, shaped, and even coded them. We discuss the inspiration and the data behind the development, as well as common use cases and applications. I'm Leon Adato, one of the DevRel advocates here at New Relic, and joining this week are... Let's see, here we go. Okay, we have Jason Ng.
Hello.
And Chris McCarthy.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, and I should have said, Jason is one of our associate product marketing managers, and Chris is a senior solutions architect. And because I know we're here for a specific topic that we'll get to later, but we're more than just talking heads that show up just to do like a webinar. We're people. I want to take a minute and hear from each of you a little bit about the work that goes behind your title. What do those words mean? And also something you find exciting in the world right now, whether it's tech or not tech. And Jason, we'll start off with you.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So as the associate product marketing manager here at New Relic, I help drive the positioning and messaging for various new products or features, along with overseeing their marketing efforts. And in terms of something exciting that's happening in the world right now, I'm a huge basketball fan. So the start of the NBA season is coming up in a week and a half. So really excited to see my Golden State Warriors repeat.
Okay, there we go. Well, by the time this airs, we will know whether you have experienced crushing depression or jubilant elation. We will know.
Absolutely.
By now. Okay. Look in the show notes, so we'll put it in there. And I do want to point out to everyone who's watching that there are show notes, so anything we talk about in terms of a link or promo or whatever, that's all going to be there, including whether Jason is now very happy or very, very sad, apparently. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So behind the title, Senior Solutions Architect means a lot of things. I think sometimes it means I have like 5 jobs. One of them is primarily to be the industry solutions architect for media and entertainment. So, I'm responsible for sort of overlaying on all of our media and entertainment accounts, seeing like what the problems are in the field that our customers are facing, and where New Relic can apply itself to provide like differentiated solutions for that. So in the context of today's call, you can consider me the product manager of the Roku agent. That's what my title means today.
Okay.
So,
it might be something tomorrow, different tomorrow.
Depending on who you talk to tomorrow, yeah, it might be something different. But today, that's what I am. And yeah, something I'm excited about is I think I think this is actually tech and non-tech at the same time. Those generative image artificial intelligence, so like DALL-E and all of those, that I remember several years ago I was working at an AI startup, and I remember playing with really early generative adversarial neural networks. You could draw like a little like skyline, and it would give you like a kind of oil painting-y thing that looked like a skyline, and it like looked cool. And I thought, oh, it's going to be 20 years before this gets serious. And suddenly like 6 months, and that has gone totally asymptotic. And that's always cool to see when you see like these really big jumps, and who knows how it's going to be applied other than, art. But it's right. Pretty cool to see those, like step functions in technology.
I think that is fun. I mean, as IT practitioners, sometimes watching the arc of something and it going faster than you thought. So many times it's, you see something and then it becomes vaporware. It never really comes out the way you expect it to. And so when it doesn't do that, when it actually, there is this arc and it's like, wow, who would have thought that it's this thing, I think that we get even more excited for having seen so many things just sort of fizzle out along the way. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so you mentioned it. You let the cat out of the bag. We're here to talk about Roku. Now, for those who are watching, if you've been living under a rock since 2008 when Roku came out, you probably have still heard about Roku because you've been living under a rock and it's really boring and you probably only have, shows to watch to help pass the time. So I want to start by asking you, what aspect of Roku just screamed to you, we need to monitor this with New Relic? Like, it just... As I look at things, we monitor SAP, we monitor NetFlow, we monitor, both network and, full stack applications. I mean, that's what I think about with New Relic. And, Roku, like help me understand what it is that made us walk down this particular path.
Yeah, so it first begins with just how relevant the media and entertainment streaming industry is in today's
Okay.
climate, especially with the recent pandemic that's happened. A lot of people are switching to watching their favorite content online, and along with Roku's relatively like massive footprint in that space, back in 2021, 78% of the U.S. Households have at least one of the market-leading subscription-based streaming services out there. And for Roku, they command a 50% market share of the North American CTV market. So therefore, it's a very high priority for these Roku publishers to ensure that their streaming applications don't come with any issues, because having any issues that disrupt the viewing experience will significantly increase the likelihood of any of their viewers saying, "Hey, enough! I don't have time for this. I'm going to watch something else on another like platform." So having visibility into areas like network connectivity, the viewer journey, and video quality of experience is very important because that enables Roku engineers to detect issues and bottlenecks much quicker and therefore be able to fix them quicker, which all in all creates for a very happy customer.
Okay, so we're talking about, I'm going to say, not just monitoring a individual Roku device in an individual home, which, by the way, I'm totally doing because this sounds like a lot of fun. And then I can also troll my kids when I say, "No, what are you watching now?" You know, that kind of stuff. I mean, I just because I like to troll my kids. But besides that, we're also talking about people who build Roku applications and monitoring like any application, monitoring the experience, the user experience of that. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah,
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Oh, sorry, Jason.
Both of you, both talking at the same
Yeah,
time. That's
yeah,
fine.
yes. We both said yes. We're both in the affirmative. Yes, that's the primary audience here. It's not so dissimilar to installing, like the New Relic mobile into your iOS application, right? You get information about the device while it's using your application, because when your application has control of the device, and you can understand like memory and CPU and networking. But yeah, it's primarily about understanding the behavior of your application across all of that fleet of client devices that you don't own but are responsible for running your app.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. And I think, again, as IT practitioners, I'm somebody who's been working in monitoring for about 20 years of my career. Is like, okay, fine, I'll just monitor it. Like, what was challenging about setting this up? Why did we decide that we needed to build a specific, approach to this versus just saying, yeah, just build it yourself. Here's a how-to.
Yeah, I can take first crack at this.
Sure.
So besides New Relic currently providing this agent, there is currently no observability solution out there on the market for Roku. So that's a starter. And then to give some highlights, the agent that we have now pushed out includes a metrics API, which means that the agent can now collect metrics for aggregate analyses, and that helps a lot because there's an enormous amount of telemetry data out there with these applications, and by collecting metrics, it's much easier for the people to get some insights. And on top of that, the agent now comes with the inclusion of a curated interactive Nerdlet experience, which are some amazing interactive visualizations that will provide instant visibility out of the box. And the benefit of that is that uh, the engineers no longer have to write their own queries to seek out the information they need, in addition to not having to set up their own dashboard at all. So just a lot less work for the same benefits as before.
Okay, and for folks who are watching this who might be a little bit newer to New Relic, I'm going to put you on the spot, Jason, and just you said the word, nerdlet, and I just want to like when we talk about a nerdlet, I know that I've been at New Relic since last November, so not a lot of time, and some of the jargon really threw me. So, quickly, a nerdlet is just a bundle of things. Like if somebody came up to you and said, 25 words or less, what's a nerdlet?
I think, well, to basically explain it, maybe like just a few words. It's basically like an interactive data visualization.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think that's the best way to explain it, but I'm
Great.
sure Chris, if you have
Yep,
a better
that's spot
explanation.
on. It's a
Okay.
UI.
Okay.
It's a slice of a UI that has a particular application. New Relic has the ability to be extensible, so not every visualization within the product is a core visualization that's built by our product team. People within New Relic, as well as customers, can build their own visualizations to load into the UI for themselves. That's called Nerdlet.
Got it. Okay, fine. And we won't spend a ton more time, but I just didn't want that word to just fly by and people say, did he really say Nerdlet? Like, what was that? Okay, cool. So I'm really excited. Like I said, I'm excited to get my hands on this and try it because, again, making fun of my children is half of my, like, everyone needs a hobby. That one's mine. But I think that for those watching, they probably want to see some of this. So who wants to give us a dog and pony show?
Yeah, I can do a little bit of a click through.
Okay.
While I'm going towards that, I'll say one of the other challenges here that will become kind of evident as I scroll through this and switch over into some of the UIs is one of the challenges with Roku is it has a proprietary language. So that's one of the reasons that providing an observability solution is called BrightScript, and it's only for Roku. It doesn't exist anywhere else. So it has like its own community, and so being able to provide visibility for that, it's not like Android where it's like, oh, it's Java. I could just do Java stuff like.
Yep.
Or iOS where it has such a huge like community of iOS developers. Like, Roku is a large community, but it's specifically like media and entertainment, whereas iOS developers covers significantly broader slice, so that community is larger. So providing an opinionated observability solution here was something that was really helpful for that.
Nice. Cool.
Anyways, back to the dog and pony show.
No, all right. It's good.
So I figured I would just start off in the repo just to give an idea of like, okay, what is this agent? You're telling me I can install a thing into my Roku app to do like observability. What does that really mean, and how much work is it? It's actually fairly straightforward. So the way that customers will enter this, and this is, of course, this is being recorded before the launch date. So on launch date, you will come into this through the quick start experience, which I'll show in a little bit. But in the documentation here, we have examples for how to initialize the Roku agent. Essentially, you include our library into your Roku channel source code. You perform standard sort of stuff. You initialize it. You give it your New Relic account ID and your API key. You hook it up to a few listeners within the Roku application, and then after that point, it's going to just pretty much go off on its own and track performance for you. What do I mean when I say track performance? One thing that we will do out of the box is we capture Roku connectivity, so network requests. There are two major forms of these, and in fact, maybe if you look in the docs here, we have a data model, so you can see a full list of all the sorts of things that we collect. And we have a dashboard that helps break this down, so you don't have to grok the data model and basically read a Wikipedia on it. You'll get started much more quickly, but as long as we're here, I can show a little bit underneath the hood. And so Roku has two methods of connectivity. One is the operating system, so that's represented by HTTP Connect and Complete, and this basically means like in a typical scenario, if you're writing a streaming application for Roku, you're probably letting like the Roku video player and operating system handle all the network requests to load all the chunks of video. You're not manually in your app making these requests back and forth like you might for to an authentication API or to your search service or something, right? So this sort of connectivity that's handled by the operating system is represented by these data types, and then the ones that your app does manually, which this does require you to actually add a little New Relic tracker around each call. Those are represented by these data types, and the reason that they're separate is the type of data that we get on them is different. One is basically data exposed through an operating system log, and another one is data that we collect by putting our own method wrapper around, so we have a little more customization. But at the end of the day, we do track both. And the result is that you get to, and I'll start with the dashboard and then we'll move to the Nerdlet. So if I start in a dashboard here, what you're going to be able to see is So this is looking back. This is since 3 months ago. This is a test data. In production, these graphs will be very full and continuous.
Yes, I will say the Changelog audience is used to seeing test data all the time. We know the difference between labbed up, sandbox data and real production data. Like, it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, this is sandbox data. But it's still, it's still the underlying structure is all the same, right? So one of the most important things here in developing any sort of client-side application is understanding, okay, I have all these domains that I make my requests to, right? For Roku application, or really for any streaming application, you probably have your CDN, which is providing all of the, the images in your application for your content, like the thumbnails and everything, and then you have either the same or another CDN, so it could be the same domain, could be a different one, is fronting all of those requests to the actual video manifests and segment files, which are what actually make up the video player experience. And then on the other side, you've got all the domains of, you probably have an authentication service, a search service, a recommendations engine, a user profile management. Just knowing like, oh, I have a lot of errors isn't really super helpful. You probably want to know like which domain is having errors, like which system that this app is communicating with is actually giving me trouble.
Right.
So
it's the same as having server has crashed. Could you tell me which one? No.
Yes.
Like, okay, fine.
Exactly. It's the knowing the rate, or that there's a lot of errors. It's helpful for sure. You definitely want to know that. But the most important thing is being able to slice that underneath and say, okay, what type of errors are they? What's the response code? What domain were they to? Which device models, like Roku device models, were responsible? Is this primarily happening on, right? And what's the rate there? And then like what % of my users are affected as well? All these things sort of go up into that landscape of like error triage and analysis, and so we do provide that out of the box. Any questions on this before I kind of continue the roadshow?
No, I'm good. Jason, are you okay with it? I would hope you're okay with it, but
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, no, it's I mean, I'm sort of in a take my money now kind of moment for me, but I mean, eventually we're going to want to say like, where do people go to download this agent? But we're going to get there, right? Like I think we're in but wait, there's more. So let's see more.
Yes, we will get there. So just, this is kind of a follow on for errors. Usually looking at durations is a luxury compared with looking at errors, because a lot of times when there's errors, things are really, really broken. As opposed to duration, they might just be slow. But we do break out those application, the Roku app durations as well, just like errors. So looking at your profile of errors, but also, how long did it take to get my first byte back from this, or how long did the overall request take from my application? So
right, and I'm going to throw my network engineer hat on here for just a second and just remind folks who are watching that there is a huge difference between the let's say ping speed and time to first byte, and it's basically, first of all, to emphasize something that you said, slow is the new down. That for many people, slow is as bad as down. It is equivalent to down. So do not dismiss slow as being, well, it's just slow. Like, what's the problem? Like, slow means that they've walked away also. But also, time to first, so when your ping speed, your latency is slow, it means the network is slowing it down. But all the other components, all your servers and everything are doing fine. Time to first byte is where the server is having a hard time not handing out information. And that means that your application is down. So that, being able to differentiate those two things right here is that can shorten the time to remediation simply by knowing where to look. Is it the network? It's never the network. Or is it, or is it the application? Okay,
so
sorry.
No, that brings up a really good point. I'm not going to go through our data model and show every single timing that we collect for these, but suffice to say, it's fairly rich what's exposed to us. You do get the network connection time, like round trip connection time, as well as first byte time. There's a lot available here, but actually, interestingly, because these are client-side applications, it can be the network, but it's not your network. Sometimes it can also be your network, but it's your customer's network. So let's say I won't use any brand names or anything, but let's say a major ISP has a failure in New York during the World
Whose
Cup.
name happens to rhyme with Rompast, like, or whatever.
No comment. No comment. But let's say, yeah, particular ISP Rompast has a outage in New York during the World Cup. You're going to get a lot of angry customers calling in if you're a company that has a streaming rights to the World Cup. You're going to get a lot of angry customers calling in from New York, and it's not your fault.
Right.
It's really, there's absolutely not. You have nothing to do with it. You can't, it's just an ISP outage. So, but understanding that's really important, right? Knowing oh, why did all of our concurrent number of streams and connected devices just crater in one of our major regions? It's really useful to know almost immediately, oh, that had nothing to do with me. I see
Right.
all of the, compared to these two time windows, all of those devices were on one ISP. So that's bad, but it's not my problem.
Right. We in help desk terms we call this MTTI, mean time to innocence. It wasn't me. That's yeah.
But that's important, and actually in some geographies that can be a regulatory requirement to be able to prove that after the fact. So there's actually it's more than a nice to have. For some people it's essential. So we can absolutely help with that by getting coverage across all the client type devices. Of course, that's Roku and mobile and browser. You need the full picture, but Roku is a huge part of that in the Americas and in some international geographies as well.
Very cool.
So the other thing that you get with this dashboard on the overview page, one of the goals with this was just to give people people who are installing a Roku agent for the first time. There's what kind of data is collected? Where can I find it? I wanted to give people a landing page so they could figure out, sort of grok the data. This is literally grok the data. So the overview page here is going to have links, and I'm kind of working backwards. I'll get to how you get this dashboard in your account and how you get the agent installed later. But this is going to have links to all the documentation, and it has some queries that basically help you understand your estate. So we'll show you how many different agent versions of Roku do you have out there, because some accounts, some companies have multiple different Roku channels, and you may have updated your library in one and not in another. So it's always important to keep those current because we're always making performance improvements, adding new features, etc. We also give a dump of all of the Roku event types that we collect. This is also all included in the data model, but people don't always want to. They want the data to be tangible, not just in a document. So try to give some reference queries to grok that, all the metrics names, and then concurrent sessions and unique devices that are connected. And then from there you can dig into the error analytics and device restarts as well. This is something I didn't cover, but because we don't have a lot of good test data for it. But Roku, because our testbed doesn't crash unless we force it to. So what you saw was HTTP tests that we're running, but
right.
In Roku, they collect all their crash data and it's not exposed to third parties. So you have to if you're a Roku if you're a developer on a Roku platform, you have to log into your account and to get your crash data. It's in a walled garden. But what we can get is when the device restarts after a crash, we get a little snippet that says what the restart reason was, and so we are able to provide kind of a crash dashboard based on those restarts, which has proven really helpful for some of our customers as well. Oh, we see that devices when they're on for 4 hours, then they run out of memory and restart. That's the sort of thing you can, because we had a memory leak in our app that's really slow, but enough that it causes the device to restart. So you can figure out those sort of issues with our agent as well.
I mean, that is very, again, looking at this blank dashboard and just knowing that this is the happy path, right? If it's blank, yes, everything's good. And knowing, again, having worked in IT for more than 15 minutes, it will not be blank because things happen. But just being able to troubleshoot and, again, memory leaks are one of those problems that are just so horrifically painful to work because you have a frustrated customer or series of customers at the same time. So, you really want to help them and you're really pulling your hair out because, it doesn't happen in my lab. And anyway, I like the fact that we took the extra step to do this. Very nice.
That's actually a good point that the one thing that's just general important things about observability is to be able to eliminate that friction of, oh, well, it doesn't happen in my
Yeah.
environment, right? Like it's not the whole point, but it's one of the things that you can eliminate of, okay, yeah, it doesn't happen on our test because we only use device models, A through H,
Mm-hmm.
that we test on. But all the ones down to Z, maybe they're older, lower power models. Let's say, oh, okay, we don't test on anything between 2015. You're on your own. Maybe that's where all the crashes are happening. So being able to see which models any errors are happening on is really valuable.
Nice.
I wanted to move on a little bit to the Nerdlet, if that's okay. And I really,
Sure.
because this is really good. You can get all of your error analytics and sort of use like this filter bar here. But we wanted to create one of the requests that we had from customers on the Roku agent was they wanted it to be closer to they wanted the experience with it to be closer to the mobile agent. It was a very common request that we got from our customers who were using it. And I think after drilling into that, one of the things that we understood from that was I just want to deploy it and have like an entity experience in New Relic and be able to, like sort of grok around my data without having to worry about queries. So to that end, we've developed a HTTP errors, HTTP requests analytics experience that attaches to the entity. So I don't know, maybe I should go one level up and explain what a New Relic entity is, but
Sure. I mean, yeah. Obviously, we don't want to take half an hour on it, but I think it's a fairly straightforward thing about what when we at New Relic say entity, we mean. Take it away.
Yeah, it's oh man, this is actually circular, like a technical thing that emits telemetry, right? It's when you think you close your eyes and you think about your architecture in your head, or you look at an architectural diagram, and there's encapsulated items that communicate with other things. Like that's an entity, right? It's an application, it's a host, it's a container, it's a third-party cloud service that's abstracted to you, right? And in this case, an entity is your Roku channel. It's not every specific Roku device, because when you have millions and millions of entities that are all like highly similar, it starts to lose its value. It's kind of a grouping up that. So in this case, the entity is our a Roku application that's just a test one that we load in and run locally on Roku. That's the entity. It's a test application. And we force it to generate errors. So here you can see a lot of the similar metrics from the prior dashboard, except we also give like a drill down on specific errors on the bottom. And what you have here is we provide this sort of 4 key metrics here: errors, error rate %, users affected, and % of users affected. And these two are important together. So we have sometimes, especially in these like client monitoring scenarios, you have cases where maybe it's 2 a.m. and it was after a sporting event and some people just left their devices on. And so at the end of the night, you used to have thousands of concurrent users, and now you have 10 just from the people who left their devices on overnight, and they'll start generating some errors. Your error rate might be 100%, but it doesn't matter because there's only 5 users and there's normally 1,000. So we have ways in alerting to sort of combine those, and you can multiply through and like normalize it, but these are important together. So we have grouping and filtering capabilities. So I can group by let's say the device model. Now there's only one because it's a test device, but here you'll be able to see, oh, here's all the different device models. Or I want to group my errors by device model and HTTP code. So I can see, okay, not just, oh, it's 4800X device model, but actually all my errors are from 4800X device model and 404 response codes, right? So we allow that combinatorial grouping. And we also have filtering. So if you want to look up a specific user ID, drill down to a specific HTTP code. So say, okay, I actually only want to look at 404s, and then I actually want to look at that again, broken out by by device model. I can start to see that. So this is running on my local. So this isn't available yet, but this will be out in a few weeks when we. Probably by the time this airs. So users will be able to deploy the Roku agent. They'll get their entity in New Relic, and then you'll have these. You'll be able to deploy these Nerdlets into the account from what's called the New Relic catalog, and we'll have documentation in the setup for how to do that. And then you'll be able to get this experience to debug, triage, and debug all the network connectivity of your Roku agent right here in the UI.
Very cool. Very cool. And once again, all of this stuff is going to be in the show notes of the video that you are watching right now. So again, presuming that this is going to air once everything is released, just, hit the, read more, and you'll see all the links to find all the goodness that we have here. All right. So that sort of takes us to what I like to call the lightning round, which is, any final thoughts, any parting ideas, any, wisdom of the ages that you want to leave. I'm going to start this one off. First of all, I just want to point out that Grok the Data is now going to be the name of my Journey tribute band. So look for it. Look for it here. That's assuming that Chris doesn't sue me for the name Grok the Data. He may have his own plans for it. The other piece of advice I want to give, this is specifically for Jason, as someone who grew up and lives in Cleveland, Ohio, do not tie your personal happiness to the performance of your sports team. Just saying. And
Doing well right now.
Right. I'm just saying, it's, it's been a lifelong thing. And I think more specific to this, one thing that I got from all of this is that the opportunities for monitoring observability can, appear in unexpected places. Like, again, I didn't expect Roku to provide as much of a huge business-based opportunity as what you both just described today. But just because they're unexpected doesn't mean that they're not significant. So my sort of, overarching thought to folks who are watching is, take a look at those. See if there's little corners of your organization or business or consumption and say, wow, I wonder if those have larger implications, because that might give you an opportunity to monitor something that has a really significant impact downstream. Those are my thoughts. Jason, I'm going to, kick it to you next.
Yeah. So, as a streaming service provider, minimizing subscription churn and lost ad revenue due to any like temporary disruptions or downright just downtime is the name of the game. So a tool like the Roku agent is going to prove very effective and desirable, not just for the engineers that create these apps, but for the businesses behind it.
Nice. Okay, spoken like a true PMM. Very well done. Okay, Chris, you get the final word.
Sure. I mean, oh man, a lot of pressure on the final word.
This is it. No one's ever going to say anything else about Roku. So
I think one of the things, like, let's start with this short personal anecdote of, I started out in software development and DevOps, and then moved into a sales engineer role, which, sort of bridging the world of the product that you have at your company and solving problems for others. And something that was always satisfying for me, like as a developer, was just fixing problems. You find slow code and you fix it, and it feels good because now things are faster, like making improvements. And I think the analog of that in like a customer-facing role is solving problems for customers and seeing them like get happy, or like, wow, I never thought about doing that. I never thought I could do that. Solution X has provided me with visibility and value Y, and like now I'm happy. I was sad, now I'm happy. Like the Roku agent has been a very cool thing to work on, because of like people don't even expect that this exists or that it can get this visibility, and like watching people's eyes light up with like, oh wow, I could do that. Like that's a thing that I can do. That's been really cool, and it's pretty satisfying. So I hope that I hope we get some positive feedback as more people start adopting it, because it's exciting for me to work on something that makes people feel that way.
Right. And I also want to add, for those people who are New Relic customers, like, we are always listening. We are always looking. So if you say, wow, if you could do that with Roku, how about XYZ? Whatever that is, please let us know. There's many different ways to contact us, but we always want to know what the real world use cases and pain points are that you're having, so that we can solve them. Because, yeah.
So actually, Leon, that reminded me of something that I totally remiss in saying for the entirety of this changelog. This is all developed in open source. This is not a walled garden, like, oh, New Relic super proprietary secret Roku agent. It's totally open source. We have customers who have forked it to do some of their own changes. We actually have had like an amazing amount of our customers pushing changes back upstream. We had a customer add like proxy network support. We have customers like finding like performance tuning. Like, oh, I found if we do this, like it's actually like a really awesome community effort. Like that's supported and spearheaded by New Relic, but we have the people like engaging with that all the time and making like pretty significant pull requests into this repo. So it's open to everybody. This isn't a closed thing.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I want to thank both of you again for taking some time out of your day and this launch because I know it's a busy time for you, to come on to Changelog and talk about it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yep, of course. Thanks, Leon.
And I want to thank everyone watching. There is an overwhelming choice of video content on Roku and other things to binge on, and we at New Relic want to thank you for spending some of your very precious time to binge this with us today. If you've enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe so you can get notifications when new episodes drop. For New Relic Changelog, I'm Leon Adato.